Urban Meyer. Ready? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer. All right, so from the moment that he was introduced as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, here's what he's done. All right? So he hired Chris Doyle, as I read, Chris Doyle as the team's director of sports performance. Doyle was accused of making racist comments and belittling players during his time at Iowa. After heavy backlash, Doyle resigned for the Jaguars. Signed Tim Tebow as a tight end, which obviously is not nearly as egregious, but it paints a thread. Drafted a running back in the first round despite already having James Robinson on the roster. Openly, people forget about this one, openly admitted that he was hoping to draft Kadarius Toney with the pick that they used on Travis Etienne. People forgot about that. Told reporters that they cut players due to their vaccine status. The NFLPA opened an investigation for those comments. For some reason, had an open competition for the starting quarterback spot between Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. Minshew was eventually traded and split valuable first-team reps with Lawrence. They traded away last year's number 9 overall pick. They're 0-4. Didn't travel with the team after a week 4 loss at Cincinnati. And then, of course, you've got the viral videos and the photos emerging of him with a woman other than his wife. And now the owner releases a scathing statement. Wow. Good job, Urban. You're doing really well in the NFL, buddy.
Yeah,
very well done.
Yeah, no, he's not. The only thing I really have an issue with is the Chris Doyle thing and this thing at the end. You know, the whole Gardner Minshew, I understand that. There's an open competition because you don't want a rookie to come in and just think he's going to win the job. But more importantly, you're just trying to elevate the market value for Gardner Minshew and get some value for it. I get that. That's a tactic. You see it all the time.
I mean, I said that it was for the market value, but it's still collegiate.
Of course you did.
Very collegiate.
But who cares about that?
Like, I mean, if you miss first-team reps.
Josh Rosen did the same thing. The Miami Dolphins did the same thing with Josh Rosen, and they just cut him. They didn't even, trade him.
No, the Cardinals, you mean?
No, the Dolphins.
Yeah, but the Dolphins didn't draft him first overall.
I agree, but neither the Jaguars didn't draft Gardner Minshew. He came what was he, 5th round pick, 4th round?
Yeah, 5th or 6th. No, I'm
talking about Gardner Minshew. I'm not even talking about that. He just let's prop him up. Let's make him viable. He was a 6th round pick, actually.
6th.
We actually talked to him before the draft. He was awesome.
We love him,
Remember
man.
He was living the life? We're like, dude, what's your life like right now? He's like, I'm a graduate student. I take a class and then prepare for football.
Go to practice.
That's right.
Play some games.
Exactly.
Throw for 400 yards.
So I understand some of this stuff. The Tebow stuff, it was whatever. He cut him on the first opportunity to cut him. I get it. The thing that matters most for Urban Meyer is, does he have the trust of this locker room? And I'm thinking through all the stories that we've heard about Urban since the season started. 1, that he's grinding these guys. 2, that he's treating them collegiately. 3, that they're tuning him out. And now this issue, which is I don't know. It just makes you think that he's not contemplative when he does things. Leaving the team plane or not flying back with the team is something that, as a player, the only thing you're going to ask is, where the hell is our head coach? Why isn't our head coach on this plane right now? I know he said what he was doing. I don't know if he told them that he wasn't going to be on the plane or not, but and if he had a conversation with some of the veteran leaders on the team, and there are still some vets despite being a young team on that team, and they said, oh yeah, coach, yeah, no problem, fine, but we're not getting an indication that happened. It's getting a little troubling with how he's handling his relationship with this team. Now, he did apologize, and we have his statement where he apologizes. He said he talked to the team and everything else. But I got to wonder what this team is actually thinking about him. Is he viable or is he a joke to them? And that's a question that we can't know until someone comes out and says yay or nay.
I think that they think he's a complete clown. I don't think that they have any belief in this guy. I believe, keep in mind I'm saying I believe, not know. I believe that they feel as if whatever he's been espousing in terms of principles and, accountability, he's doing the exact opposite. No, I mean, why would you? First of all, now, these are off the record quotes, and I don't want to get, too wrapped up in this because they are what they are, okay? Yeah. And I know that the anonymous nature bothers you. Me too. But This is an interesting thread. Quote, this is from Silver, who's Michael Silver, right? Is it Michael Silver?
Yeah.
Silver.
Yeah, Mike Silver.
Mike Silver. This is, quote, the Urban Meyer situation in Jacksonville has reached a crisis point, especially in the locker room, Silver writes. One player told me he's got zero credibility in the stadium. He had very little to begin with. Silver adds the players were, quote, particularly put off by the cancellation of a Monday team meeting. Quote, he was too scared, an unnamed player told Silver. Meyer reportedly, quote, apologized to position groups individually, and he claimed the woman in the video that surfaced was, quote, just there dancing. Silver says the audience was, quote, highly skeptical. They looked at him like, quote, WTF. Mm-hmm. Right when everybody left, they started dying laughing, and he knew it. It's bad, the unnamed player told Silver. I don't know how he's going to function. Yeah. All right, those are quotes, whatever. But I just think that Urban Meyer's just not a real good guy. I've said that before. I'm saying, let me finish.
Yeah.
I've said that. This is a guy who's got a track record everywhere he goes of either ignoring rules fully, partially circumventing, partially bending, walks around with an air of arrogance that is a real turnoff, and everywhere he leaves is left worse off than it was when he inherited it. Like don't tell me there's no character flaws with this guy. And when the character flaws are that obvious, you're not going to last in an NFL locker room when the guys don't believe in you. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's a matter of, does he make it through the season or does he get fired after the season? It ain't going to work.
Well, it depends on whether or not he wants to do it. Now, Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, had put out a statement. He said, quote, I have addressed this matter with Urban. Specifics of our conversation will be held in confidence. What I will say is his conduct last weekend was inexcusable. I appreciate Urban's remorse, which I believe is sincere. Now he must regain our trust and respect. That will require a personal commitment from Urban to everyone who supports, represents, or plays for our team. I am confident he will deliver. Now, Shad Khan has to say that because he's not firing him outright, especially after the contract that he gave him. And this isn't an offense to fire for cause, for lack of a better description of what's going on with this in this situation. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing he's got to do is convince his team that they can believe in him. You know, one of the things that Urban said earlier this year, I think it was after their second loss or so, was a note to the Jaguar fans that Jaguar social media made a big deal out of. He essentially said, hang in there with us. We're going to get better. Now, if you are leaving the team plane and not flying back right after a Thursday night loss with the Cincinnati Bengals and staying in Ohio and then going to dinner with your family and then going out after that with whatever was going on, the shenanigans going on in the club, are you actually preparing for the next week's game and doing all that you can to make this team better? The answer is no.
Ding, ding, ding.
And so from a credibility standpoint, you're not doing what you said you were going to do.
Yep.
And that's when you lose trust of a locker room. And once you lose it, it's damn near impossible to get it back. And so based on some of these reports that we're hearing, that's his biggest obstacle. Forget all the nonsense of this flying out there with the memes and the people making jokes about Urban and his actions in this club. What he needs to care about and only care about is the guys in the locker room who he has to get to play for him come Sunday afternoons.
Well, that's the real point there. I mean, listen, anytime this stuff comes up, right? I mean, there is obvious difference between, you talk about heinous crimes or outward racism or insensitivity. Those are things that I and we will judge very harshly. When it comes to morality in terms of your marriage, you're going to have to deal with the consequences, man. I mean, if you're dumb enough, okay, or don't have enough respect for your wife to keep that private, then you're going to have to deal with that either when she leaves you or if she doesn't divorce you, when she just makes your life a living hell every night when you go home, if you go home. So I'm not here to judge you on that. That's morality stuff. And I'm not saying whatever, like flippantly, like, no, do whatever. No, but that's not for me to judge. All right. What I am here to judge is, and you were off this day, Teague, I crushed him when he kept saying, because, you were off Friday. after the Thursday game, it's heartbreaking, it's gut-wrenching. If it's that heartbreaking, if it's that gut-wrenching, what you do is you lock yourself in that laboratory and you scour that film until your eyes are bloodshot, and you pound 5 coffees and you come up with something that can fix it and get it in the right direction. Not go down and suck down 6 margaritas and dance with somebody who's 25 years younger than you and do Lord knows what. That's the optics that you cannot have, because now even if you do love football and want the Jaguars to get better, the messaging is that the loss is insignificant, and getting better is even less significant because you're not dealing with the aftermath of the loss.
Yeah, my bigger takeaway from this, BT, you're dead on it right there, BT, but my bigger takeaway is I wonder if he knows how to win on the NFL level and who he's soliciting advice from, right? Because he has this perception. I'm not necessarily going to say it's a persona because I've never met him. I don't know how his tone is or the texture of his speaking. I don't know what that is yet. I'll find out, but I don't know what that is yet. But who is he talking to? Like, everybody thinks that they know what they're doing when they start doing something. You realize I actually have no idea what I have going on. And I know he's got, Darrell Bevell, who is his offensive coordinator. He's been around the game for a long time, obviously under Pete Carroll. Is he soliciting advice from Darrell Bevell? Hey, I know you've been in the game, in this game, NFL, much longer than I have. How do you handle this, that, and the other thing? Mm-hmm. Joe Cullens, he's his defensive coordinator as well. Like, I wonder if he has that mentor. And I mean, I'd love to find the answer to that question because it feels like he doesn't. Because he's doing things that you just don't do on an NFL level with professional men in a locker room that will judge you based on what you do and how you behave.
Yeah,
right? It's not. They're not necessarily going to say, "Hey, we're not playing for you," because they have a job themselves.
No, they got to put it on tape. They got to get paid.
They have an obligation to the organization and their bottom line, their paychecks, just as much as they do to the coach. But if they don't respect the coach, then that's the issue. And again, I'll go back to that. As a former player who's been in locker rooms, if your coach is, I don't know, he's wishy-washy, there's no way you can relate to him. And so that's his biggest issue. Forget all the other stuff. Again, it's out there. People will have fun with it. The biggest issue is what's happening in that locker room with his players. And if he can't get that right, there's no chance for him of surviving in the NFL.
But I do think the other stuff does matter. It doesn't matter listen, by the way, I tweeted this morning that there's no way you fire him for the videos that surfaced. That I'm on the record. I'm not firing him because he may have stepped out of his marriage or did whatever he did. The optics are that's not why I would fire him. But when you when you stack it all up, it just seems, it seems destined to implode in just alarmingly loud fashion. Like, there's going to be nothing quiet about Urban Meyer's exit from Jacksonville, whether it's during the season or after the season. But it ain't going to be many seasons. I think I can feel pretty confident with that. And it's amazing, too, because I found some articles that I went back just to verify this morning where, Trevor Lawrence, there was a thought like, well, if the Jets get the first pick, does Trevor Lawrence go back to school? Like, there were people around Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if I didn't see any quotes directly attributed to him outside of him saying, we'll see what happens, all right? He didn't, impugn the integrity of the Jets, saying, oh, no, there's no way I'll play for the Jets. It wasn't quite that. But there were people connected to him saying, you never know. The way the Jets have looked the last couple of years, I don't know if that's something he'd want to go and do. Mm-hmm. And how ironic is it now? Look at the situation he's in Jacksonville. I mean, wow. Yeah. It is a disaster down there.
All of this is mitigatable if they start winning. And
is it, though?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I don't know.
100%, BT.
You know why I don't think it is?
There is a depressive feeling when you're losing. Now, to his credit, they are getting better. Right, they played better this past weekend, or past Thursday, I should say, against the Cincinnati Bengals. The one thing that you question is going for it on 4th and 1 on the 1-yard line right before halftime and not making it. So instead of going into the halftime 17-0 against the Bengals team, you go in 14-0. The Bengals come down in the second half and literally don't get stopped. They score on their 2 subsequent drives. Mm-hmm. They kick a field goal again, and they basically run out the clock. So their defense played terrible in the second half, but they did play better. Trevor Lawrence played better. They play the Tennessee Titans this weekend, and the Titans are 2-2. They're good, but they just lost to the Jets, so they kind of seem vulnerable. The Miami Dolphins have had a struggle this season. There are winnable games before they go into the bye week. So if they turn it around and start winning, and they go into Week 7, which is
they're not turning
week,
anything around.
If they go into Week 7, 2-4, this feels different. The only way to make negative stories like this. Or not, because they're not really negative, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, this is pretty negative. This is pretty. You're underselling this. This is bad.
But BT, do you care really? I care as it pertains.
It's almost immaterial if we care. It's what everything else is being said.
Agreed. I care about the only thing that matters, and trust me when I say this.
Go ahead.
The only thing that matters is how this is perceived in a locker room. That's the only thing that matters. Shad Khan could. I don't know what his morality is or what he believes where he's going to tell Urban relative to this incident. Not that it was an indiscretion. He was just feeling on a girl and hanging out in the club. Like, forget all of that. If he can't capture the team back and get them to play hard and win, then he's not going to be the head coach.
Yeah.
But if he can, and they turn it around and say beat the Tennessee Titans, and then go and beat the Miami Dolphins, go into the bye week on a 2-game win streak. Yes, they're only 2-4 and they have no chance for the postseason, but they're like building something. Mm-hmm. It'll feel different, and we'll stop talking about this. But if he loses, and he loses embarrassing fashion, so they get blown out by 25 points or 26 points, whatever it may be, then it just keeps rolling, right? The only way to get this thing stopped and start to push the stone back up the hill is to win. It's the only thing that matters for Urban Meyer right now. And the only way he's going to do that is if he recaptures this locker room, which I don't know if he ever had in the first place.
Well, here's what I know. They're playing Tennessee. I'm pretty sure that Mike Vrabel, after the Jets loss, was locked in his office, pissed off, and trying to get a solution.
Yeah, but with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and Taylor Lewan and Saffold and basically half the defense banged up, it's kind of that's the reason they lost.
Well, DJ Shark is out. Their best receiver's out. He fractured his foot. So, I mean, do I think Robert Flores is going out and skipping? The Dolphins. Who they played this past weekend? They lost to who the heck? They had the Bills the previous week. The Colts, right? Colts. Do you think that he was out in South Beach? No, he was doing his job.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's why, fundamentally, I totally agree with you that wins will quell the criticism and the uproar, but I guess what I'm saying, Tiki, I don't have the conviction that you seem to have that something like this won't pop up again. With Urban Meyer, I just feel like he's on a short leash, self-imposed, in Jacksonville.
I think Urban Meyer has skated a lot of I'd use a word that you all know that I want to use.
Uh-huh.
He's skated a lot of it throughout his career.
Because he was on college campuses and he was the man, and he made more money than the president of the school.
That's right, because he was on college campuses and he was the man.
Yep.
I think he's finding out that just being Urban Meyer doesn't work in the NFL.
Okay.
And if anything, he's being humbled in real time, and we're seeing it. How he responds to that is the only thing that's going to matter as it pertains to his future employment.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.